the chat throughout the presentation. We're planning to have a larger group discussion at the very end of our presentation. So at any point, feel free to drop those in the chat. But we can go on ahead then. Thank you, Caroline. All right, so just to give everyone a quick overview, first of all, my name is Juliana Caskey. I serve as one of the youth representatives to the United Nations for Nor-Lus Mentoring Center for Youth in Armenia. And just to give a sense of where we'll be going with this presentation today, I'm going to give you just a bit of an overview of what we're going to touch on. So today's presentation will consist of a brief introduction of our panelists, followed by an overview of the unique partnership that Lehigh University has with the United Nations, as well as the specifics of that partnership with Nor-Lus and Nor-Lus's model of mentoring. We'll also be including various youth representatives' perspectives. We're going to give all of us a chance to share our experiences with our own NGOs, as well as the United Nations, before moving into a deeper discussion on the partnership we have and where it's going to be going in the future. All right, so just to real quick introduce our panelists, to give a longer introduction of myself, I'm currently a senior at Lehigh University studying political science with a minor in women, gender, and sexuality studies. I will be pursuing a master's in political science at American University in the coming fall. I personally started working with Nor-Lus back in August as one of the 2 youth representatives. And then next up, we have Shoger. So Shoger is the founder and executive director at Nor-Lus Mentoring Center for Youth, non-governmental organization. She got her first degree in English language and school psychology at Yerevan State Linguistic University. Her second MED is with an outstanding GPA she received in counseling and human services at Lehigh University as a Fulbright scholar under the supervision of Dr. Arpana Inman. During her career, Shoger has worked as a coordinator or manager in various prestigious community organizations such as Peace Corps, Birthright Armenia, as well as the historic Armenian houses. She also volunteered in conducting a number of professional workshops in her community and has also served as a jury member during the state exams of counseling at Chirac State University. Currently, she works on 2 research projects with Lehigh University youth reps, and she is also developing her organization to provide more services to adolescent girls from orphanages and socially vulnerable families, along with enlarging her international collaboration to bring more changes both locally and internationally. Then we have Caroline. Now, Caroline is a 4th-year student at Lehigh University studying English and pursuing a master's in education in secondary English. Caroline has been a youth representative for Nor-Lus since last March. Since then, Caroline has advocated for Nor-Lus's mission at various UN events, including asking a question at the town hall, which was hosted by the President of the General Assembly. Then there's Marissa, who is a recent graduate from Lehigh University with a degree in international relations and economics. She was one of the first youth representatives for Nor-Lus and has worked with the organization for 3 years now. And finally, we have Claire. So Claire is a junior at Lehigh University studying global studies and sociology/anthropology. She is Lehigh University's youth representative to the United Nations for gender equity and youth empowerment. She also serves as the vice president of the UNA USA chapter at her school, where she is able to engage students in UN processes and programs. All right, now to kind of get into a little bit more of what's going on in our university. So Lehigh University is one of the few universities in the United States to have earned non-governmental organization status with the United Nations. It was actually the 6th to do so. Now, through this status, Lehigh students, as well as faculty and staff, are given the unique opportunity to attend various UN conferences, meetings, and briefings. Then 4 years after gaining this status, Lehigh founded its own youth representative program. So youth representatives work with a variety of NGOs focusing on a whole host of different issues, including gender equity, environmental issues, and public health. Now, students do have to apply for these positions, and they are selected through a fairly rigorous process to ensure that each student is an ideal match for the NGO that they are hoping to work with. It's really important that each person is passionate about the work they're doing, and to do so, it's really an important part of this experience at Lehigh that you have this passion, because this is all of this work you're doing is so important. And these positions do require all of us to put in time outside of our courses to aid our NGO in whatever capacity they would like us to do so. So again, you really have to have that passion, that drive to be doing this work, and it's outside of your coursework, it's outside of your credits. Currently, Lehigh does have 24 students serving in these roles, with the hopes of continuing to expand this program to allow for even further engagement. And additionally, because of this partnership that Lehigh has with the United Nations, many students have even gone on to intern with the UN. So our university is really lucky to have this foot in the door with the UN, and it's meant that students are able to go to the headquarters to meet with various officials and attend meetings. In the past, we did have a whole group of students go to the 8th International Day of the Women and Girls in Science Assembly, as well as get to meet with various ambassadors to the various member states, both at their permanent missions, as well as having folks come here to campus for us. And then we're going to kind of zoom in a little bit on what Norluce does specifically with this partnership. So in the case of Norluce, per Sustainable Development Goal 17, Partnerships for the Goals, Lehigh University students and Norluce work together to advance quality education, gender equity, and a reduction of inequalities. This year alone, our team has traveled numerous times to the United Nations for various meetings and events. And by participating in these events, Norluce's goals, missions, and beliefs about how the United Nations can better serve civil society are able to be shared. And now with all of this work we get to do with Norluce is facilitated through Lehigh's connection to the United Nations. So through this partnership with both the UN as well as various NGOs, Lehigh students work with their own NGO to advocate for their mutual goals, both on campus as well as at the United Nations. So youth representatives are able to attend events at the UN and advocate for the goals and values of their NGO physically in meetings that would largely otherwise be inaccessible to that NGO, who are often in farther away nations, would require a host of international travel. We also are responsible for hosting events on campus to raise awareness for the same issues that our NGO addresses in their home country. So this sort of thing is often done through tabling events on campus or through panels and presentations at various events that are hosted almost exclusively by youth representatives, or sometimes in conjunction with other organizations on campus that are of a very similar goal, very similar missions. And ultimately, Norluce is doing a vast amount of groundwork through their research, through their mentoring, and implementing all of the knowledge that they are gaining in their research as they're working with those girls right on the ground. And so then it's on us as the students here at Lehigh to be responsible to further advocate on campus as well as at the United Nations for that NGO's work and for their goals. And with that, I'm going to pass it on over then to Sugar, just to give you a bit of more of an understanding of what Norluce is doing specifically in Armenia.
Thank you, Jillian. Hi, everyone, once again. So Norluce Mentoring Center for Youth Organizations is the first and only organization in Gyumri, Armenia, working with adults and girls from orphanages and socially vulnerable families. So we recruit 12 to years old girls to provide them with mentoring, relationships, skill building, career planning skills, and scholarships to pursue a college degree. Our program is a three-phase program that promotes empowerment and the opportunity for the girls to reach their full potential. The girls are not only being provided with a safe space to share their challenges and gain emotional well-being, but they are also provided with support to feel empowered to bring social and economic changes both in their communities and throughout the country, as well as build a community of strong, thoughtful, creative young women who are the future of Armenia. And as you see in the video, those are some of our mentees representing the different phases of the organization. Next slide, please. Norluce model. So how Norluce is working. We have conducted a thorough research before we started the program, and the research shows that children who ever receive any type of support at any period of their lifetime, they tend to be more emotionally stable. And we are aiming to reach this emotional stability for our girls through our program. And when a person is emotionally stable, she can have career, educational, and of course, financial stability. stability. So we not only recognize the link between these aspects, these skills, but we also address them. And research also shows that adolescents who receive life skills, soft skills, they tend to exhibit positive self-esteem and self-confidence. So that's why we have our skill building phase, which is the second phase. And to further support the growth within the girls, as well as promote youth prosperity, we provide them with scholarships to pursue a college degree. So this is our model. And next slide, please. So here we are representing different phases of Nor'Lus. In the background, you will see different pictures of our girls participating in different events. So the first phase is mentoring phase. This phase seeks to connect mentees 12 to 17 years old with mentors with the goals of supporting their dreams. The phase seeks to help the girls through problems relevant to their lives and their teenage years. Every September, so beginning every September, a new group of mentors start their individual meetings, and each phase lasts approximately 11 months. So throughout the phase, mentees learn to focus on themselves and their emotional stability. Once this goal is achieved, they move on to creating new goals, aspirations for their futures. In this phase, mentees are being provided with at least 8 hours of individual and 4 hours of group services. Next slide. Okay, so this is our second phase, skill building phase. As soon as the mentees graduate from the first phase, they move on to the phase 2. So phase 2 provides mentees with skills, different types of skills, resume writing, digital literacy, career planning, research, computer courses, etc. Like a number of life skills, soft skills that are very important for them. And this phase focuses on expanding the mentees' world perspective by engaging in local volunteerism and cultural events. In this phase, mentees are provided with average of 8 hours of group services, and with opportunity to visit universities, cultural centers, and also a number of factories that allow them to explore the existing opportunities upon which they can build their career plans. Next slide, please. So this is our third phase, which is called higher education phase. So all the mentees have already graduated the first 2 phases, and now they are in the third phase, which also lasts approximately 11 months. Phase 3 provides all the mentees with scholarships to attend higher education, along with financial planning, networking, and of course, management trainings. Phase 3 seeks to ultimately prepare participants for financial independence and finding a job. The participants who enter vocational colleges, they can apply to the organization to receive scholarships. They also sign a contract which allows them to conduct certain hours of volunteer work. In this phase, the participants are also provided with minimum of 2 hours group services. And they are also motivated to participate in various workshops, events, organize presentation about the organization, and share with everyone what is the mission of Nor'Lus. I think this is all about 3 phases, Julianne. This is what we are doing for the girls for 3 years, and all the girls who graduate the 3 years, they receive scholarships, and later they still keep in touch with us, and they become part of our alumni group, and then they can also apply to become mentors for the other mentees who are being involved in the organization. That's it.
All right, great. Thank you so much. So now we're going to take a chance to really zoom in on our youth representatives, specifically to get the youth experience side of all of this. So with these partnerships we have with Lehigh and Nor'Lus, we're able to take on an incredible deal of responsibility and really get the chance to rise to various challenges that we as youth are facing, but of course, as the whole world is facing. So we're going to touch on a few things that we've all specifically worked on and how that's impacted us. We really want to take the chance to emphasize how important it is to include youth in our partnerships at the United Nations, and just to highlight all of the amazing work that youth can do if they're really given the space to do work on their own, do work with partnerships with other NGOs and things like that. So I'll kick us off with this, share a bit about the work I've done thus far. So I began my role with Norluce this past August, and it's really given me the chance to get a great sense of community and purpose here on campus. There's all of this programming I've done has really given me the chance to advocate for a mission that I'm personally so passionate about with the gender equity components, especially is important to me with my minor in women, gender, sexuality studies. That was obviously the avenue I was hoping to take to continue expanding on as I went into this role. So one of my favorite experiences thus far has been the chance to speak at the consultative meeting of the Commission of NGOs with ECOSOC accreditation. So the commission was trying to figure out ways and is continued trying to figure out ways in which the UN can better serve civil society. And through this meeting I attended, I was able to share my own opinions on this topic. Now, all of the statements we read and compose are really a joint effort of the whole team. The statement I read was actually a condensed version of a much longer written statement that was composed even prior to my coming on board with the team. So it is so much a collaborative effort, almost all of these projects we work on. And being able to give this statement meant I was really able to advocate to close those gaps that Norluce is seeing on their ends in a space that would largely be inaccessible to them. So it's a really big point of our statement was the need for a space for countries with developing and transitioning economies to advocate and network in person. There's such a crucial aspect to the UN that it's unfortunately missed for those NGOs, for those countries that are unable to travel to the New York City headquarters. And it's honestly an incredible experience to just be in these rooms when, especially you're one of the youngest people there, you get to speak with others when that meeting is over. And it's just so evident that the passion everyone has for their organizations, and also just to see the youth that are participating, it's amazing to get to talk with people and see how excited they are to see young people there. So you can tell there is that drive both on our end, but even for other folks, they're seeing the need for that. And even with this partnership, a big part of it is being outside of the UN. So it's still important to us to have that space here on campus to talk about Norluce and UN missions as well. So one of the big events every youth representative does is almost all of us get to participate in the Commission on the Status of Women. So this year we did a presentation, of course, at NGO CSW, but just as importantly, perhaps, we were also able to host a panel discussion here on our campus that was centered around the same theme of CSW and our own talk at that event. So it's just a chance to be able to share such a variety of insights on campus, and a great way to share what Norluce is doing as well here on campus. But at the same time, tying it to things that Lehigh students can connect with through those broader UN goals. And it's really an incredible chance to just see how this is being recognized on our campus, especially when you have the chance to talk with other folks here on our university campus. A couple of the youth representatives were even able to speak to our university president about our experiences and even go on a trip with him to the UN to talk about our own work here with Norluce, both on and off campus, to advocate for continuing our space here on campus. So we actually did get to go up to headquarters with him. And I mean, those trips are always so exciting for all of us. You get to sit in on meetings and things like that, but getting to go with other youth representatives as well as administrative officials at Lehigh really felt like a chance of tying it all together, because it's such a big part of this partnership that you have the UN tied in there, but you have your Lehigh people as well as your NGO Norluce people there. So it was just a great way to see all of it tied together. And honestly, all of these experiences are really so beneficial in discovering more about myself, about working within civil society. I think it's so easy. I think it's really easy to think you understand what's going on in civil society, but there's honestly just so much more to it and so many more opportunities with it that you don't fully realize. And I think that's what's been so valuable to me, is being able to get these insights without actually having to take it on as a full-time job, to see what's going on and really be able to develop and hone in on skills that I honestly never would have thought I'd have the chance to do in college, especially within the context of the United Nations. But that's a little bit about what I've experienced here with Norluce, with Lehigh. I'm going to actually turn it over then to Marissa, who is also was a youth representative, but she's graduated now. So she can give you a bit of a larger zoomed out side of things after being outside of Lehigh too.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Juliana. And that is true. So I first started working with Norluce a few years ago doing research, and Norluce wasn't accredited with the UN at this time, but had initiated the partnership between the NGO and Lehigh. And Sugar, Whitney Schmotis, and I created a chapter in a book exploring the social cognitive outcomes of a multi-phase mentoring program for girls in Armenia. And after this initial partnership, working with Sugar, learning about the mission and the vision of Norluce, I knew I wanted to do anything to further the organization's goals. So soon, Norluce became accredited with the UN and was able to take on youth representatives. So I became the first youth representative along with my colleague for the organization. And our team wrote statements for the Commission on the Status of Women and wrote ECOSOC high-level segment statements to emphasize and amplify what individuals were experiencing in Gyumri, Armenia, and how Norluce worked to make meaningful progress in those individuals' lives. We also presented at the Commission on the Status of Women, allowing the youth representatives to amplify Norluce's voice on an even larger scale. And Lehigh University put on multiple events where groups of our NGOs would come together and inform the student body about and encourage fellow students to get involved in the youth representative program and learn more about the NGOs that we represented. And you can see me here in the slide at an event, and we pass out little buttons, and so do Julianne and Caroline, so that we can get our name out there. And so people are questioning, oh, why do you have that big yellow button on you? And we can explain what we do and who we represent. And despite the fact that COVID did keep us from traveling to the UN or doing in-person events at times when I was representing the organization, we did continue to host events online and set up posters outside. Our Lehigh office had a fantastic newsletter that would share our events to students, and Sugar would share event details with her contacts on the NGO end as well. And the partnership between NGOs and Lehigh University created an absolutely invaluable experience for me that led me to becoming an intern at the UN in the Department of Global Communications. And I was able to continue advocating for women and youth empowerment and build an entirely new skill set focused on making an impact through this program and the partnerships. So that was some of my experience, and I will pass it over to Claire.
Thank you, Marissa. Hi, everyone. As Marissa's mentioned, I'm Claire. My role as Lehigh University's youth representative to the UN is quite unique as a youth representative role. I represent my university as an NGO. With this position, I engage the student community at Lehigh. I communicate with students about topics of youth and gender-related global issues. I work to bring the UN's work to campus and involve students with the UN. I have a bi-weekly newsletter on gender equity and youth empowerment that's sent out to the university community. It covers events students and professors can attend in person and virtually, art, the UN, and current events. The Lehigh UN partnership does a great job at bringing students to the UN events and meetings. Through this role, I've been able to attend various UN events, such as the International Day of Peace and the Civil Society's Town Hall with the President of the General Assembly, which are some of those pictures there. Being in the room with leaders and in spaces of advocacy is an intense experience. It invigorates and inspires me. I never thought I would be able to sit in these meetings and be mere feet away from leaders. I have learned so much from these experiences. This feeling of empowerment is unrivaled and should be experienced and felt by more youth. The Lehigh UN partnership has allowed me to partner with other youth representatives and NGOs. I was able to partner with the Unitarian Universalist Association on a parallel event for NGO CSW 66, which featured all youth panelists. I have been able to partner with Norluce this year on this event, event on campus and a parallel event for the NGO CSW 67. Working with youth that represent different NGOs has enabled me to engage with different ideas and perspectives. This partnership has supported me in applying for other positions and getting more involved at the UN. I am now a member of the DGC Civil Society Youth Representative Steering Committee. This brings me to a platform of youth advocacy and activism, where discussions with youth who are working with different NGOs to make a difference is nothing short of inspiring and empowering. More youth need to be given roles where they can engage with civil society organizations, and there is a lot that NGOs can learn from youth. This will bring them to a space where they can simultaneously empower and be empowered by youth. I'll now give the floor to Caroline.
Thank you, Claire. Yeah, so echoing from what everyone's been saying, the beauty of the youth rep role is that I'm able to both represent Lehigh at the United Nations and represent Norlus itself as an NGO. To be able to say that I've addressed the President of the General Assembly at a town hall, speak at virtual UN events such as this one, and bring awareness about SDGs and how do we combat these global issues that plague our world, as an undergraduate student is remarkable. My university experience would not be complete without my experience as a youth representative, and it is all possible because of the partnership between Lehigh University and various NGOs. So before becoming a youth representative, I never really understood how civil society organizations were involved at the UN. I always interpreted the UN as this sort of like all-consuming massive organization where decisions were made behind closed doors by high-level officials. However, that's not fully the case. That while there is much room to grow in terms of civil society involvement and activism at the UN, the potential is there, which is very exciting. One example occurred when I received the opportunity to ask a question at the President of the General Assembly. At the time, it was His Excellency Sisaba Karosi at a town hall at the United Nations. I addressed and asked him how, youth within civil society organizations can become more involved within policymaking, because on paper, we're able to speak at events and, participate in forums such as this ECOSOC Youth Forum. However, there's always that question of whether we are genuinely being listened to and if, higher level officials are taking our recommendations. So that is something that, as youth representatives, we work towards, and even though there are some challenges, we try to mitigate those and have our presence be known as best as possible. So while advocating for Norlus at the UN is one facet of the youth representative role, another facet includes spreading awareness about our organization and various UN events and observances at Lehigh's campus, which Juliana and Marissa talked about with our involvement at the International Bazaar. So for example, many students may not be aware about how gender inequality manifests in specific developing countries, such as Armenia, and what NGOs specifically do to combat those inequalities. And in Norlus's case, this manifests itself through the mentorships and the work Norlus does with empowering adolescent girls. So these events, such as, tabling at the International Bazaar, they encourage Lehigh students overall to adopt that global citizenship stance, and we help increase Lehigh students' cross-cultural awareness. So the bazaar actually just happened 2 days ago. Juliana had a picture of it, and it is a massive campus event where students are able to showcase their culture through food, trivia, dance. This year, they even had a fashion show, which was pretty cool. So myself and Juliana hosted a table for Norlus where we asked students about trivia about Armenia, and we talked about Norlus's mission. So even though our interactions with students and visitors are fleeting, at least we're able to provide them with a little bit of information about issues of gender inequality and quality education, and about our unique position of being a youth representative itself, because not many students are aware of the program. And another great thing about the youth representative program is just being able to talk to Lehigh students about how they themselves also have the potential to advocate for their cause, whatever that might be, at the United Nations, if they seek out the opportunity to do so. So there are opportunities for becoming involved and, espousing our cause. It's just a matter of seeking them out and having, the tenacity to do so, which is a great skill that being youth representative has taught me. Is even though at times it may seem like people are not listening, it's still important to, say what's important and to talk about the issues that are out there. So that's my side of the youth representative role. And so the first picture was me at the town hall asking a question. And then the second picture below was another event we had earlier in the fall semester. We hosted a table for the International Day of the Girl Child. And I asked various students trivia about, how many students are enrolled in school across the world, how many students our education is disrupted because of, power outages or natural disasters. So it's always interesting to hear student responses to these because they vary. And it's interesting just to get students thinking outside of the Lehigh and US bubble about different issues globally. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it back off to Juliana for a little summarizing and next slide. All right, fantastic. Thank you, Caroline. All right, and thanks, of course, to every one of our panelists so far for sharing your stories and experiences. I hope that really all of us being able to speak a little bit about just a couple of the small things we've been doing here on campus can serve as some sort of an example of the capacity that youth have to do important things if we are given these opportunities in the first place. And those partnerships that we have, they're so vital to the work that civil society does in conjunction with the UN. And now that we've kind of been able to share our side of things, the work we as students are able to do, I'm actually going to turn it back over to Sugar to kind of share how it's been able to benefit her on her end over at Norlus in Armenia, and really how she's been able to experience having youth partners and how that's worked to her advantage.
Thank you, Julianne. As you see, I titled it Partnership for a Change because we are bringing change, maybe small ones, but we are definitely going towards a change. And you see North Lehigh, and UN, New York, because those are, and you see different arrows going to all the directions, because it's not only going from us, but also but we are also receiving from them. And I would like to start with NGOSSW and UN New York, because being involved in this, it has been very instrumental in highlighting the importance of Norlus's work, especially in alignment with the internationally accepted and prioritized sustainable development goals. Through submitting, as girls have already mentioned, we have submitted various statements and segments, and through submitting these briefing statements and segments advocating for marginalized groups and communities, we have had the opportunity to influence the development of international policies and agendas on economic and social issues such as poverty, education, and human rights. So thanks to being part of this UN part of UN in New York, we started a debate club for the mentees, and every year the girls, this debate club allows the girls to conduct thorough research on topics related to the annual priority theme. And this allows them not only to understand what is the priority theme of each year, but also to understand different SDGs and understand how each of us can take a step towards realizing all these SDGs. And so additionally, our ECOSOC status have provided us with platform to voice the issues and challenges that girls in Armenia are facing locally and internationally. So the platform has helped us to gain greater visibility and, of course, recognition on the international stage, establish international connections, network, also draw attention to any problems that hinder the peaceful and secure life of girls in Armenia. And now I'd like to talk about Lehigh Youth Representative Program. And I would like to acknowledge this program because without this program, all of these that I've mentioned couldn't have been possible. This program provides NGOs like us with physical presence at the UN without the need to travel internationally, as the girls have already mentioned, because a lot of cases, representatives of NGOs, they can't fly internationally to be present there. It's not feasible due to different problems, due to financial constraints, and without a representative in the USA, NGOs would have to limit themselves to online meetings. And it is not the same as being there in person and networking in person with diverse group of people and learn about their own experiences. So thanks to Lehigh Youth Representative Program, we have been able to maximize our presence at UN New York and engage in various stakeholder events to advance our mission of promoting economic and social development, peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, and of course, access to justice. So this program provided us with an opportunity to share our work with a wider audience and contribute to global efforts to achieve the SDGs. And again, I would like to highlight once again, if not for the program, I wouldn't have been able to be there myself to have my physical presence. And thanks to the girls, that during all these years we had a active presence at all the events, both online, offline, and we brought a lot of changes. We had the opportunity to influence on various policies, on the development of various policies, and this is amazing. We are here sitting in our countries, like being in our organization, and we are bringing changes internationally. And I think this is all for talking about the partnership for a change. But if there's more questions, I would love to answer any of those questions. But for now, I'm passing to Juliana.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Sugar. It's really so great always to get to hear your side of things on the Armenia side of things, because I think so much of us sometimes, I think especially when we're here at Lehigh, you think a lot of the New York side of things, about the Lehigh side of things. But so there's obviously this capacity that you're seeing and been able to use us so effectively. And now I'm going to turn it over then back to Claire for one last time. We're just going to kind of talk a little bit about how these partnerships are continuing to grow, both here on campus as well as at the United Nations and throughout various NGOs. So I'll hand it over to you, Claire.
Thank you, Juliana. So how do we see this partnership growing? Lehigh is looking to add more NGOs to the partnership and enlarge the Youth Representative Program. They have just recently added the Confederation of NGOs of Rural India and are looking to add many more. Lehigh is also trying to do more events and bring more students to events at the UN. This past fall, we established a Lehigh chapter of the United Nations Association of the USA. This club is a space where students can talk about the SDGs and the UN's work. Students who are not typically up to date or involved in the ongoings of the UN are able to discuss solutions and ways to bring the Sustainable Development Goals into their studies and their daily lives. The ECOSOC International Internship Program at Lehigh sends Lehigh students to work or do research overseas fully funded. Norlus is getting an ECOSOC intern this summer. Sugar, would you like to talk a little bit about the ECOSOC intern and your participation with the Global Village?
Of course. So I was still in the studying at Lehigh when I found out about Global Village opportunity, where they bring young people from different parts of the world, and they serve as mentors and interns. And I started my corporation as an organization, and I had several gaps in the organization that I would like to I wanted to address. So I put together a portfolio with a task list, with the goals that I was expecting, and I handed over to all my all the folders, all the information to the Global Village students. And during 1 month, they gave me back huge information, a big folder, a big file that included all the details of different that covered all the aspects that I was thinking was open, like was not clear. And so they helped me to clarify my strategic plan, PR strategic plan, fundraising strategic plan. They were very useful. And after that, I could use all the materials, and they organized everything in a way that I could take everything and utilize immediately in the organization without being worried how I would change everything and make sure it talks to the culture. They have thought about all different aspects, which was amazing. This is about Global Village partnership, and this year, for the first time, we are going to host ECOSOC intern, and we are excited about this opportunity, and in July, this will be the first time that we are hosting her, and she's going to help us in different, in organizing different events with the organization. And this is very exciting because it is not only one way of cooperating. So we are cooperating through youth representative program, but now like adding to Global Village. Now we started ECOSOC internship collaboration, which talks about the fact that Lehigh University as a university is very open to international collaboration, and they are very flexible, and they will do everything to support the international organizations to grow. So yes, I hope I covered everything, and I would like to pass back either to Claire or Julianne.
Thank you. So as you can see, Lehigh is expanding its reach and partnership globally, looking to add more NGOs to the Youth Representative Program and grow the partnership. Back to you, Juliana.
All right, perfect, fantastic. All right, everyone. So that's really the end of our major presentation, what we have prepared for all of you today. If anyone has questions for us, please drop them in the chat. We are all so happy to answer any questions that are coming through. We do have a couple of questions that we can use to kick off the discussion, but I did actually see something come through in the chat earlier, so I'm going to read it to all of us, and if anyone has thoughts, please interject. I think I have a little bit of something already when I saw it earlier, but they're saying just asking a question if we've ever brought any kinds of events to the specific nation of specifically Kenya, because a lot of what we've been hearing is like kind of what we've been doing, but not so much on the other side of the contributions. So I can note, I don't believe any of our NGOs are based in Kenya. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there are some based in Nigeria, actually. Unfortunately, a lot of the times for the youth reps, we're not able to go to the home countries of our NGOs. We do a lot of our work in at UN headquarters in New York, just because our university is only about an hour and a half drive away. So really a lot of our work specifically is on the US side of things. Unfortunately, I think a lot of us really would like to go to the nations where our NGOs are based and get to do on the ground work with them. But I don't know if anyone has any other thoughts or interjections about that.
Yes, I would like to, because I think the question is connected with two parts. It has two parts. So regarding the first part, why we are not taking anything to different country. First, as Juliana mentioned, we need to have the organization based in the country. So if, let's say, because in all the countries, there are a lot of wonderful NGOs and organizations, they do amazing job, and it's very hard to voice about that. If I were instead of this organization, what I would have done, I would just reach out to the organization that have youth representative programs. Like for example, Lehigh, you can reach out to Lehigh and see whether they have any opportunity with collaborating with Kenya, or they have opportunities to work with you and provide you with youth representative. Because with this presentation, we would like to share what the overall goal of this presentation is, like to share what we are doing and how each of you, as a youth representative of youth, as representative of various organizations, can do the same thing and voice about the wonderful work that you are doing in your home country. So that's why we have been talking about our experiences as a kind of a example to share, to show you that you can also do the same thing. You can also be a part of this initiative. And the only way is to find the right program that provides youth representative, to get ECOSOC status from the UN, and then be active participating in all various events. It can be both online, offline, or maybe hybrid. This is all.
Awesome. Thanks, Sugar. Anyone else, anything? Are we all? I think that was great.
I had a question that was messaged to me on a similar vein. This person asked, how are non-Lehigh students able to become involved as youth representatives for NGOs at the United Nations? So I think a good place to start would be to start just attending various forums like this. I know every March there's the NGO itself, it's called NGO CSW. Dozens and dozens of NGOs participate in that. And I think I say this as a way of kind of scoping out, thinking about what cause you are really interested in, and that will kind of guide what type of NGO you'd be interested in representing. It's easy for us as Lehigh students because the partnership is there. But in this case, I would suggest starting to gain some exposure to various UN events. And from attending those events, you can maybe try to find possibly an organization that you would like to represent. And I think it never hurts to reach out itself. NGOs are always excited, from my understanding, of hearing from youth that are interested in representing their cause. So that would be a good place. And also it helps to understand like the different outlets NGOs have at the UN to address. So specifically like the ECOSOC Youth Forum is one. In the summer, there's side events for the high level political forum that a lot of NGOs participate in. So those are just two big, civil society events the UN holds. And those may be good places to kind of look at what different NGOs and causes are represented, and maybe possibly reaching out, finding their LinkedIn or website and seeing what opportunities there are. It is a little tricky, and I think we're really lucky and fortunate as Lehigh students that the partnership is there. But any other thoughts?
Yes, Caroline, I would like also to add that not only being present at the UN event, but there is sometimes UN posts internship opportunities, volunteer work opportunities, and it can be also hybrid. So if you keep an eye on announcements and news that the UN is sharing, UN Women is sharing, you may also be able to join UN and conduct volunteer work while being in your home country. This will provide you also a big opportunity to network, gain new friends, meet new NGO representatives. I also know that UN Women have different groups for different I would say goals, and if you are actively involved in their activities, you will also find announcements like how to join these groups. And if you join them, you can also participate like in accepting more important decisions, like or putting together important documents and share with the General Assembly. So everything that Caroline has mentioned, have that on mind, and also keep an eye on announcements that UN have on their website, and join as a volunteer.
Perfect.
Uh-huh.
All right. So real quick, I see there's two very good questions in the chat. I'm going to go a little bit out of order just because I think the one is going to have a tiny bit of a shorter answer, and we'll be able to all answer that one a little bit quicker. But just asking, like, what are the terms of this collaboration? So I can personally say from the student side of things, we just have to be in very much so I would say good communication with your NGO representative, with your NGO president, whoever you're speaking with, and knowing that you're going to be putting in a couple of hours every week outside of your normal coursework. None of us are taking these on as for credit, like credit bearing things. So it's just knowing that you're going to have to be on Zoom meetings. We're expected to attend UN events whenever possible. So normally going up to headquarters, I would say once a month or so. There's not a lot of specifically, I would say, rules for us as students, other than obviously conducting in a professional manner when you're moving forward in the UN spaces. But I would say we personally don't have a lot of like constraints on us. I don't know if anyone else has thoughts on like what they see as the terms of our working relationships. Well, all right. So I'll just leave it with that then, because it's really is, honestly, I would say just a lot of back and forth with your NGO president, being able to figure out what works best for you in that collaborative space. Perfect. Yeah, of course. All right. So one other question came through then. So they would ask, would you say that collaborating between different nationalities / ethnicity, ethnic groups outside of one's own country and said country could be a good step toward achieving SDG 17? And if so, are there any platforms that can be used to research and or establish a connection between both parties? So I can start us off if no one else has any immediate thoughts. I think at least I mean, for us, I feel like on the Lehigh side of things, so much of our work is partnering with other nations that we're maybe not familiar with. So, I mean, even when we hosted the table at the International Bazaar, we were sharing Armenian culture, but we had gotten so much of that through just asking questions with Sugar, just going over like different specifics that honestly like weren't something I had been exposed to in the past. So getting to see that, I think, really is a way of like facilitating a partnership. You get to understand better about other nations. And then if you're having these spaces that you can have this dialogue, you can really understand better other nations. And I think that's a basic groundwork you really do need for partnerships. At the very least, I would say that, and kind of, I think is so important to be interacting with others outside of your own home nation.
Yes, Juliana, you're right. And I would like to add that collaborating like for a good cause is always very good, because both of you are working towards bringing a change. And this collaboration can be not only internationally, it can also be in your own home country, because maybe there is another amazing organization next to you working with a different target group. Why not to collaborate with each other and serve bigger community? Regarding internationally, that will be a great way to learn about each other, to be culturally more, to be aware what other cultures hold in themselves and what similarities and differences you guys have, and learning from each other, understanding how different cultures approach the same problem differently. And there will be a lot of lessons that you can learn from each other, from your own experiences. And to start a corporation, like as a kind of one platform, it's very hard. You need to first, what you can do, understand what is the mission, like thoroughly understand what is the mission of your organization. Then in Google, you can search for the organization with similar mission. And then you can send out a letter of interest saying why you want to collaborate. Maybe, I know like for Armenia, we have different sister cities. And we can easily get in touch with the sister cities and organize collaboration with the organizations that are based in our sister city. Maybe you have the same thing for your city. Or you can also find these international organizations like Peace Corps or AmeriCorps. There should be other ones that brings international volunteers. There are a lot of different birthright organizations, and you can apply to these organizations and bring international volunteers to your organization and bring this change in the organization, in the community. So that way you can start your collaboration and get connected with different organizations, both locally, internationally, and then slowly you can grow. If your, I would say, vision or the end goal is like to collaborate with the UN, then collaborate with the organization that already has this connection, and maybe one door will open another door for you. So when you start a collaboration, be very strategical about that. So this is what I would suggest.
Did anyone else have any thoughts? Okay. All right.
Do we have more questions?
I don't think there's any more in the chat. Did anyone else have any other questions they'd like us to answer? I know we officially said we would go 1 to 2, but if anyone has anything else, I mean, I know we're all happy to hang on, I think, for a little bit longer. Oh, yes.
Hi everyone, my name is Darius from Indonesia, and thank you so much for explaining about the NGO and listening the potential of the youth. And I do really listen to every of the points I mentioned, especially how the intercollaboration between the UN SDGs and how we would like to learn from other countries and cities. It's just not a question, it just kind of responds toward what we have saying before. I do agree with the collaboration that we have to do as the youth itself, like unleashing the potential. Because to give a context, I'm also one of the youth leader from Indonesia in one of the NGO, but in more in local community. It's kind of different. So what I've been doing for advocacy for education policy, like providing education access toward people in remote areas, and also community development for more than 9 years in my hometown in Indonesia. That's why I think kind of relate on how you also talking about the mentoring of the NGO itself. And I do agree when people asking about how to reach out to NGOs and how to like to deal with the collaboration itself, because I think the most interesting part is becoming the youth is how we as the youth itself have the self-awareness and how that we also knew why and how we would like to do something, because also our passion and our goals to do advocacy on how we would like to do like SDGs implementation. And I think there's also one question maybe I would like to arise. So in your opinions, like how do you think about the localization of SDGs in some of the local communities and also the local NGOs? Because like somehow we cannot reach directly to the UN headquarters, right, on how we like to implement the SDGs. But at the same time, it's like somehow we don't have the resources and capacity to do it. And even like even if I would like to reach out to UN to be, you know, considered as the official or registered NGO in the UN entities, but somehow it's also hard for us to, you know, to be registered at the same time. So I think I would like to ask this kind of questions. It just popped up in my mind. So I was like, when I was talking, so thank you.
Thank you, Darius. So the question that I kind of let me reflect, you asked how to localize the SDGs, yeah?
Yeah, the localization of SDG program in local communities and remote areas, because somehow it could not be reached, you know, so hard.
Yes, thank you. So first of all, you need to explore, examine what kind of SDGs your own country has accepted. So every country annually they accept their own part of SDGs. Like for example, in Armenia is SDG 4 regarding the education. So the first step will be there to understand what SDGs your country has prioritized for that year, and then after that, you can look back to your capacity. What can you do as a group? Like for us, what I can do to teach the girls what they can change. And one of them is allowed me to establish a debate group. I don't spend anything on it. Like I don't spend any money on it. But the girls are interested and they want to learn. They learn debating skills. They learn how to express themselves. They learn how to have very good speech, and they overcome all their fears. And also they learned what is SDG, like what is UN, how this appeared, and what they can, why these annual priority themes are important for us. So when they do the debate, at the same time, they also write down the different tasks, how they can do, what kind of steps they can take to help these to reach the SDGs. So even if you teach one person what to do, that will be, you are already reaching, getting towards that SDG. Let's say about environment, how to protect our environment. If you teach everyone about recycling, then you are doing a lot of things. You are teaching a whole generation how to be environmentally sensitive and what kind of steps to take to make sure that we are living in a safe space and we are saving our environment. So it's more of, it's first understanding the local SDGs, the prioritized local SDGs. Second, understanding what kind of abilities we have, and just start small with the small steps. And again, later, if you want to be connected with other organizations higher, like with the UN, just apply as an organization, apply to get ECOSOC status, and everything will be great. I hope I answered all your questions.
Yes, I mean, thank you so much. I mean, yeah, I do agree with prioritizing what our country has accepted, but then somehow like in Indonesia, because like almost every point we also accept the 17 goals itself, and so it's kind of hard because like even the government already agree that we would like to working on certain points. Somehow you cannot be reached into the villagers and some of the local communities, because somehow the socialization of the UN itself about the SDGs not very effectively come into people in local area. But somehow that's also one of the points that has to be considered, not only by government, also by us as the youth and the NGO. So yeah, thank you so much for your insight.
You're welcome. And I would also highlight another important way to start collaboration. In all countries, guys, you have Fulbright students, who graduated and they are back in your countries. Find all these Fulbright students because each of them is connected with a wide has a wide network. We have this Fulbright website where we are connected with all the Fulbrights internationally. If you get connected with one person, this person can connect you with the whole world. And I had a friend from Indonesia. She was a Fulbright student, so that's why I remembered everything. If you want to get in touch with her, just get in touch with someone who has already participated in an international event or forum or got an international scholarship. This will be another amazing way to start your international collaboration.
Yes, yeah, I mean, I love that ideas because like now I'm studying in Columbia University, and somehow in the class we're also talking about the collaborations with the others, entities or NGOs. But somehow, like because maybe I'm not physically in Indonesia, and somehow I would like to collaborate with my local NGO within this NGO is quite hard. But yeah, that's also one of the things that we can proceed to the next level on how to collaborate between international event exposure toward the local areas itself. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Well, since I think we're running out of time, I want to just make sure that we all are respectful of everyone's time. Thank you all so much for coming out today. If anyone does have any other questions you would like to ask any of us really at a later date, this is all of our contact information. You can feel free to email us, reach out to us on various social media platforms, whatever is best for you. We would all be so happy to continue speaking about our experiences and give further insight if you have questions for us. But thank you all for coming today. We've enjoyed being able to share our experiences with you, and we hope they've been beneficial to you as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.